Okay, we need to have a conversation that's going to be uncomfortable to hear. How women are becoming insufferable, and it's not just affecting men, it's affecting other women too. And I think we need to have an honest conversation about what's happening to us as women. Here's what I've been noticing, and it's honestly heartbreaking. We've been programmed by society to think that having zero accountability is somehow empowering, but it's actually making us insufferable to be around. We lack emotional intelligence, so we react to everything from pure emotion instead of thinking things through logically. We feel entitled to everything without bringing anything valuable to the table, whether it's in relationships or friendships. We've lost our moral compass. We don't have principles or values that guide our decisions. We just do whatever feels good in the moment. Loyalty has become a foreign concept. We'll throw anyone under the bus if it benefits us or makes us feel good about ourselves. And this isn't just impacting our romantic relationships with men, it's destroying our friendships with other women too. I see it in my comments all the time. Women attacking other women for having standards, for growing, for trying to better themselves. We've been conditioned to think that being difficult, dramatic, and demanding makes us strong, independent women, but it's actually making us insufferable and people that others want to avoid, honestly. The culture taught us that having no boundaries with ourselves, but expecting everyone else to cater to us is normal. But that's not how healthy relationships work. We can't build meaningful connections, romantic or platonic, when we're operating from entitlement, emotional reactivity, and zero accountability. If we want better relationships, we have to become better people. It starts with looking in the mirror, not pointing fingers.
Have you ever stopped to think about why so many interactions in modern dating feel one sided, exhausting, and downright frustrating for men today? What if the growing sense of entitlement and rudeness we are seeing isn't just random bad luck or individual choices, but the direct result of larger forces shaping behavior in ways that benefit everyone except the people trying to build real connections? Stay with me until the end because I'm going to reveal how understanding the shift can completely change how you approach relationships, protect your peace, and find the kind of mutual respect that actually lasts in a world that seems stacked against it. If you're getting value from this angry guy content and want more hard hitting breakdowns like this one, hit that like button right now. Share this video with any man who needs to hear it. Subscribe to the channel and make sure to click the notification bell and select all so you get every single video the moment we release it. Also, if you're serious about taking control of your financial future in this unpredictable world, check out Angry's Crypto Academy, where you'll learn step by step how to buy, sell, and trade crypto safely, protect your assets, and grow your wealth the smart way. The Academy is linked in the description below, so pause this video and go check it out now. It could be one of the best decisions you make. And if these angry guy videos are hitting home for you and helping you see things clear, show some support by buying me a Red Bull through the link in the description. It keeps the energy high and the content coming. Let's dive deep into this topic that's on every man's mind these days: the noticeable rise in entitled attitudes and demanding behaviors from many women in the dating scene and relationships overall. It's not just in your head. Countless men are experiencing the same patterns where interactions feel transactional, where expectations are sky high on one side with little reciprocity in return, and where basic respect sometimes seems optional. But here's the key question we need to ask: why is this happening on such a wide scale right now? Is it because women have suddenly changed overnight, or is there something bigger at play driving these behaviors? To really understand this, we have to look beyond surface level blame and examine the systems around us, the cultural messages, the economic incentives, and the social structures that reward certain attitudes while punishing others. Think about it like this: in any society, behavior doesn't emerge in a vacuum. It's shaped by what gets encouraged, what gets profitable, and what gets normalized through media, apps, and influencers. When instability in relationships becomes more lucrative than stability, guess what happens? The entire ecosystem starts pushing dynamics that keep people cycling through disappointment rather than settling into healthy, long term partnerships. Consider the economics first, because money drives so much of human behavior, whether we like to admit it or not. A stable, committed couple tends to consume less as a unit. They share expenses, build together, and often prioritize long term goals over constant spending sprees. But when relationships break down repeatedly, the spending explodes. Think about all the industries that thrive on heartbreak and loneliness: dating apps that keep users hooked with endless swiping, therapy services for processing emotional turmoil, legal fees from divorces and custody battles, separate housing for ex partners, beauty and fitness products to get back out there, nightlife and entertainment to fill the void, and even the surge in luxury purchases as coping mechanisms. All of that adds up to massive profits for corporations, platforms, and service providers. Now, contrast that with a world full of happy, committed pairs. They're just not as profitable. They don't need to subscribe to multiple dating services. They don't rack up bills from constant turnover. And they certainly don't fuel the content machine with dramatic stories of betrayal and regret. So, from a pure business standpoint, keeping people in a state of perpetual searching, hoping, and recovering is far more valuable than helping them find lasting fulfillment quickly. This isn't some grand conspiracy with villains in a boardroom plotting against love. It's just how incentives work. Systems naturally evolve to maximize revenue, and relationship dysfunction happens to be a goldmine in today's economy. This economic reality trickles down into cultural messaging in powerful ways. Women are bombarded constantly with narratives that position them as inherently deserving of the best without needing to invest equally in return. Phrases like, "you deserve a king who treats you like a queen," or "never settle for less than you're worth," get repeated endlessly, but often without the balancing reminder that healthy relationships require mutual effort, compromise, and accountability from both sides. Influencers build massive followings by validating high demands and low reciprocity, turning personal standards into performative displays that garner likes, views, and sponsorships. The more extreme the take, the more engagement it drives, and platforms reward that with greater visibility. On the flip side, men are fed a different but equally unbalanced script, one that emphasizes providing, protecting, and pursuing without boundaries, often framing emotional restraint as strength while vulnerability gets portrayed as weakness. This creates a perfect storm of mismatched expectations. One side encouraged to demand endlessly, the other conditioned to give without questioning whether it's appreciated or returned. When these two scripts collide in real life, frustration builds fast. Men start feeling like resources rather than partners, while women wonder why the high value connections they were promised aren't materializing despite following the advice. But let's be clear, this isn't about painting anyone as the villain. Both men and women are navigating a landscape designed to exploit these imbalances. Women aren't inherently more greedy or rude. They're responding to a culture that amplifies and rewards those traits because it keeps the cycle going. The same system that profits from female entitlement also benefits from male desperation. The endless chasing, the overinvesting, the tolerance for poor treatment in hopes of eventual payoff. It's a feedback loop that keeps everyone dissatisfied in spending. Look at dating apps as a prime example. Their business model relies on user retention, not successful matches. Algorithms show you just enough potential to keep you hopeful, but not enough fulfillment to make you leave the platform for good. Features like premium boosts, super likes, and paid visibility encourage a transactional mindset where connections feel like purchases rather than organic bonds. Women on these apps often receive overwhelming attention, which can inflate expectations and make average approaches feel inadequate, while men face rejection fatigue that erodes confidence over time. The result? Behaviors that come across as entitled or dismissive become normalized because the environment selects for them. Social media compounds this further by curating highlight reels that distort reality. Women see constant portrayals of lavish lifestyles funded by partners, luxury dates as the bare minimum, and narratives where settling is the ultimate failure. Men see similar distortions, either hyper masculine ideals of dominance or cautionary tales of being taken advantage of. Without grounded counter messages, these extremes become the new normal, and real world interactions suffer as a consequence. Now, let's talk about the human cost, because this goes way beyond hurt feelings. We're seeing skyrocketing loneliness across both genders, delayed family formation, higher rates of mental health struggles, and a growing divide between men and women who might otherwise find compatibility. Men are checking out of the dating market in record numbers, focusing on self improvement, careers, and peace instead, often called walking away for good reason. Women, meanwhile, express confusion and frustration about where the committed men have gone, even as the cultural messages continue pushing independence above partnership. The irony is that no one is truly winning here. Women following the never settle, you're the prize mantra often end up alone longer than planned, facing biological realities and regret when the options narrow. Men pouring energy into unbalanced dynamics burn out and withdraw, missing opportunities for genuine connection amid the noise. Society as a whole pays the price with weaker family structures, lower birth rates, and generations growing up without stable models of mutual respect. So, how did we get here? Traditional relationship frameworks provided clear roles and expectations for better or worse. They created predictability. When those were challenged and dismantled, and rightfully so in many cases where they were unfair, no robust replacement emerged. Instead, hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. We got a free for all where individualism reigns supreme, but without the tools for navigating conflict, building equity, or fostering true partnership. The vacuum got filled by profit driven influences that thrive on chaos. Understanding this bigger picture is empowering because it shifts the focus from personal failure to systemic awareness. When you recognize that the rudeness or greediness you're encountering isn't always about you or even about the individual woman's character, but about responses conditioned by the environment, it becomes easier to detach emotionally and make smarter choices. You stop taking every rejection or demand as a personal attack and start seeing it as a symptom of the larger dysfunction. That said, awareness alone isn't enough. We need practical strategies for navigating this reality without becoming bitter or defeated. First, prioritize your own growth relentlessly. Build your physical health, financial stability, social circle, and emotional resilience. The stronger your foundation, the less you'll tolerate imbalance and the more attractive you'll become to people capable of reciprocity. Second, set firm boundaries early and consistently. The era of unlimited chivalry without mutual respect is over. Offering generosity is fine, but it should be met with appreciation and return investment. If it's not, walk away without hesitation. Protecting your time, energy, and resources isn't selfish, it's essential. Third, seek out environments where healthier dynamics are more common. Online apps might be convenient, but real life social settings, hobby groups, and communities built around shared values often filter for better compatibility. Look for women who demonstrate accountability, kindness, and effort in their daily lives, not just in words. Fourth, work on your emotional intelligence. Learn to spot red flags like consistent victim mentality, lack of reciprocity, or entitlement early. Heal any past wounds that might make you overly tolerant of poor treatment. A man who knows his worth doesn't chase validation through overgiving. Finally, maintain realistic optimism. Healthy mutual relationships still exist. They're just rarer in this noise. They require patience, discernment, and the willingness to pass on mismatches without resentment. When you find someone who invests as much as you do, respects your efforts, and builds alongside you, it stands out precisely because the contrast is so stark. This shift in perspective from blaming individuals to understanding incentives changes everything. It frees you from anger directed at the wrong targets and channels that energy into building a life that's fulfilling regardless of relationship status. Men are increasingly choosing peace over chaos, self respect over supplication. And that's a powerful movement. Let's take this even further and examine how these economic incentives play out in everyday scenarios that every man watching this has likely encountered at some point. Picture a typical first date in today's world. The conversation flows decently, there's some attraction, but when the bill arrives, there's an expectation, often unspoken but clearly felt, that one side covers it entirely, regardless of who initiated or how mutual the interest is. It's not about the money itself, it's about what that moment reveals regarding reciprocity and respect. When generosity is demanded rather than appreciated, or when effort from one person is treated as the bare minimum while the other offers little in return, it sets a tone that erodes trust from the start. And this is an isolated incident. It's a pattern amplified across social media, dating platforms, and cultural stories that frame high expectations as empowerment without emphasizing the importance of balance. The storytelling around dating has shifted dramatically over the past couple of decades. Narratives that once highlighted mutual support, shared adventures, and building something together have been replaced by ones focused on individual empowerment, luxury as a standard, and validation through external displays. Young people grow up absorbing messages that prioritize personal gratification and material markers of success over emotional depth or long term commitment. For women, this often manifests as encouragement to seek providers who lavish attention and resources without needing to nurture the emotional side of the equation. For men, it's the pressure to perform as that provider while suppressing any expectation of appreciation or equity. The result is a mismatch where both sides feel shortchanged, but the system keeps everyone engaged in the search, spending on self improvement products, dates, apps, and entertainment along the way. Consider the role of social media influencers who build empires on relationship advice that sounds empowering but often boils down to maximizing personal gain with minimal vulnerability. Content that warns about low value partners or lists non negotiable demands gets massive engagement because it validates feelings of frustration and offers simple rules in a complex world. But rarely do these voices emphasize self reflection, compromise, or the work required to maintain a healthy dynamic. Why? Because content promoting ongoing struggle and drama drives more views, comments, and shares than messages about quiet contentment and mutual growth. Algorithms favor conflict and aspiration over resolution and realism, creating an echo chamber where unbalanced expectations feel justified and normal. This cultural shaping starts early. From teenage years, media portrays relationships as conquests or transactions rather than partnerships. Reality shows stage competitions for affection, complete with eliminations and lavish gestures that set unrealistic benchmarks. Music lyrics celebrate independence through wealth and casual connections while downplaying emotional intimacy. Even advertising targets insecurities, selling beauty products with promises of attracting better options, or lifestyle brands associating happiness with solo luxury rather than shared simplicity. All of this conditions people to view relationships through a lens of what they can extract rather than what they can build together. Now, let's storytell through a common progression many men experience. You meet someone online, the profile emphasizes high standards and what she's looking for, often detailed lists of qualities, income levels, or experiences expected from a partner. You invest time in messaging, planning a thoughtful outing, showing genuine interest. The date goes well on the surface, but subtle tests emerge. Comments about past partners who spoiled her, expectations for future plans that involve significant spending, or a lack of curiosity about your life beyond surface level. When you politely set a boundary or expect basic reciprocity, the interest fades quickly. You're left wondering what went wrong while she moves on to the next option, reinforced by friends and online communities that frame any shortfall as settling. This cycle isn't personal failure, it's the environment selecting for short term, high stimulation interactions over sustainable ones. Platforms reward profiles that generate lots of matches and messages, so presenting as highly desirable with strict criteria becomes the strategy. Genuine, approachable people get buried under the noise of performative standards. Men adapt by either overinvesting to stand out or withdrawing entirely, while the overall pool becomes more guarded and transactional. But here's where the economic angle sharpens the picture even more. Industries have sprung up around this dysfunction. Coaching programs promising to teach women how to attract high value men through specific behaviors or appearances. Courses for men on how to navigate modern dating without getting exploited. Books, podcasts, seminars, all profiting from the confusion and pain. Therapy practices thrive on processing repeated heartbreaks and attachment issues stemming from these mismatched dynamics. Even fitness and fashion sectors boom as people chase the physical ideals promoted as necessary for success in this market. Compare this to historical periods where community and family structures played larger roles in pairing people. Matchmaking considered compatibility in values, work ethic, and long term goals rather than immediate chemistry or material displays. Economic pressures encouraged stability because resources were scarcer, and building together was a necessity. Today, with abundance and individualism, the incentives flip. Independence is feasible, so why commit if the short term rewards of cycling through options feel better? The system supports that choice by making singledom comfortable and profitable for corporations. Yet, this comfort comes at a hidden cost we're all paying. Rising isolation, delayed milestones like homeownership or starting families, increased reliance on external validation. These aren't just personal issues, they're societal shifts driven by the same forces. Governments even feel the impact through lower birth rates affecting future workforces and higher social service needs for aging populations without strong family support. But addressing root causes would require challenging powerful interests, so surface level solutions like awareness campaigns get prioritized instead. For men navigating this, the awakening often comes after repeated disappointments. You start questioning why effort rarely yields proportional return, why conversations feel like auditions, why peace seems elusive in relationships. That's when the bigger picture clicks. It's not about fixing yourself to fit a broken mold, it's about opting out of games designed to keep you playing. Many discover that investing in personal goals, career advancement, health, hobbies, male friendships brings far more fulfillment than chasing unbalanced connections. This movement of men prioritizing themselves isn't bitterness, it's strategic self preservation. By redirecting energy inward and upward, they're achieving financial independence, physical vitality, and mental clarity that make them less susceptible to manipulation. Ironically, this often makes them more attractive to women capable of healthy dynamics, but by then, many aren't interested in re entering the fray. Peace becomes the priority over partnership at any cost. Women, on the other hand, increasingly voice concerns about commitment ready men disappearing. Online discussions fill with questions about where the good guys went, complaints about inconsistent behavior, or confusion over why approaches have dried up. But these conversations often circle back to reinforcing the same standards without examining how they contribute to the problem. The cultural messaging continues unchecked, promising fulfillment through high demands, while the reality shows something different. The path forward requires conscious choice from individuals willing to swim against the current. For anyone seeking real connection, it starts with rejecting the scripted roles. Value substance over flash, effort over entitlement, growth over gratification. Seek partners who demonstrate accountability and kindness in actions, not just words. Build slowly with mutual investment at each step. And most importantly, maintain standards that include reciprocity, generosity met with gratitude, respect given and received. In storytelling terms, think of modern dating as a rigged game where the house always wins through endless play. The winners aren't the ones finding love quickly, they're the platforms and brands keeping everyone at the table. Breaking free means walking away from the table entirely until you find a better game, or creating your own with people who share your rules. This understanding transforms frustration into empowerment. You stop personalizing rejections or imbalances and start seeing them as symptoms of a larger design. That detachment allows clearer decision making, pursuing only those who match your investment, protecting your resources fiercely, and building a life so fulfilling that anything less than mutual respect isn't worth disrupting it. As men increasingly choose this path, the landscape shifts subtly. Standards rise across the board, not in demands, but in self respect. Those still playing the old game find fewer participants willing to tolerate dysfunction. Over time, this could force a recalibration where genuine compatibility regains value because the alternative becomes too lonely. But change is slow against entrenched incentives. In the meantime, the smartest move is focusing on what you control: your growth, your boundaries, your peace. Surround yourself with positive influences, mentors, friends, content that reinforces healthy mindsets. Learn financial literacy to secure independence. Cultivate skills and purpose that bring intrinsic reward. Reflecting on real stories from men who've made the shift reveals common themes: reduced stress, higher productivity, deeper friendships, financial gains from not funding unbalanced dynamics. Many report feeling truly content for the first time, unburdened by constant pursuit or compromise of values. Some eventually find partners who align naturally, drawn to the confidence and stability. Others prefer solitude and thrive in it. The key insight is that fulfillment doesn't require pairing up in a flawed system. It comes from aligning life with personal principles, regardless of external validation. When you reach that point, interactions improve because neediness vanishes. You engage from abundance, not lack. This broader view also fosters compassion without excusing poor behavior. Recognizing people as products of their environment helps release anger, but it doesn't mean tolerating disrespect. Boundaries remain essential. Forgiveness is internal, not relational reinstatement. Ultimately, the entitlement and rudeness observed stem from a culture offered optimized for consumption over connection, profit over prosperity in relationships. By understanding the mechanics, men gain the tools to navigate wisely, choosing participation selectively or opting for self directed happiness. As we delve deeper into practical applications, consider how this awareness changes daily choices. On dating apps, profiles demanding without offering become easy passes. Conversations testing boundaries get polite endings. Time invests only where reciprocated enthusiastically. Energy preserves for pursuits that build you up. This disciplined approach yields compounding benefits. Savings grow without unnecessary expenditures. Health improves with consistent routines uninterrupted by drama. Networks strengthen through reliable male bonds. Purpose sharpens as distractions fade. Many men describe this phase as rediscovering themselves. Hobbies neglected return, ambitions dormant reignite, confidence authentic rebuilds. The contrast to previous chasing highlights how much was sacrificed for little return. Women noticing this shift sometimes adapt, softening demands when faced with disinterest. Others double down, but find options narrowing as aware men opt out. The market self corrects gradually through individual choices. For society, the long term implications are profound. Rebuilding emphasis on family and community requires countering economic disincentives, but that starts with cultural voices promoting balance. In your own life, start small. Audit where time and resources go in relationships. Adjust toward equity. Seek environments fostering healthy interactions, shared activities, interest groups, professional networks. Prioritize discernment over hope. Red flags like consistent self centeredness or lack of effort signal incompatibility early. Green flags include curiosity about you, appreciation for efforts, initiative and planning. Building this way takes patience, but rewards with authenticity. When connection forms on mutual respect, it endures because both invest in maintenance. This perspective shift from victim of circumstances to navigator of them empowers profoundly. You reclaim agency in a landscape designed to strip it through endless dissatisfaction. Men walking away aren't abandoning society, they're reclaiming sovereignty over their lives. In doing so, they model a better way, potentially inspiring broader change. Let's keep building on this foundation and explore how these dynamics manifest in long term relationships and marriage, because that's where the stakes get even higher and the patterns become impossible to ignore for many men. Imagine committing years of your life building shared finances, perhaps starting a family, only to realize that the reciprocity promised at the beginning never fully materializes. Instead, what often emerges is a slow shift where one partner's efforts are taken for granted, where appreciation fades into expectation, and where the emotional and practical load tilts heavily in one direction. This isn't every relationship, of course, but it's common enough that men across generations are now approaching commitment with extreme caution, and for very good reasons rooted in observable trends and outcomes. Look at the data on marriage and divorce over the past few decades. Initiation rates show a consistent pattern where the majority of dissolutions come from one side, often citing reasons that boil down to dissatisfaction or wanting something different, even in relationships that appear stable from the outside. The financial consequences fall disproportionately on the other partner. Loss of assets built together, ongoing support obligations, restricted access to children in many cases. This isn't to say that every case is unfair or that no man ever contributes to a breakdown, but the systemic risks are undeniably skewed, creating a rational hesitation for anyone paying attention. When the cultural narrative simultaneously pushes the idea that commitment should be unconditional while downplaying mutual accountability, men start asking hard questions about whether the potential rewards justify the exposure. Story after story emerges from men who followed the traditional path: work hard, provide stability, show loyalty, build a home. They describe entering marriage with optimism, believing that shared goals and love would sustain things. Yet over time, they notice small erosions, decisions made unilaterally, efforts not acknowledged, intimacy becoming conditional. respect diminishing during disagreements. Attempts to address imbalances get framed as complaints or lack of support, and suddenly the provider role feels like a trap rather than a partnership. When children enter the picture, the dynamic intensifies because leaving isn't just about personal happiness anymore. It's about navigating systems that often prioritize one parent's perspective over equitable parenting time. This reality drives the growing trend of men opting for minimalism in relationships. No cohabitation, no joint finances, no marriage contracts. They see the risks clearly: emotional investment without guaranteed return, financial vulnerability in a system that can reallocate resources dramatically, social stigma for expressing concerns about fairness. Choosing solitude or casual arrangements starts looking like the safer bet, especially when personal peace and independence become achievable through career focus and self discipline. On the cultural side, media portrayals rarely highlight these male perspectives authentically. Instead, stories frame dissatisfaction almost exclusively through one lens, reinforcing the idea that high expectations are justified and that any shortfall reflects poorly on the partner failing to meet them. Men voicing frustration get labeled as entitled or immature, while parallel complaints from the other side receive validation and support. This double standard discourages open dialogue and pushes concerns underground, where they fester into resentment or quiet withdrawal. Think about the language used in popular relationship advice today. Terms like emotional labor get applied selectively, acknowledging invisible work in one direction while overlooking parallel contributions in household management, financial provision, protection, and maintenance. When every act of service becomes expected and every request for appreciation gets dismissed as neediness, the motivation to continue giving erodes naturally. Men aren't robots. Sustained effort requires some reinforcement, some sense that it's valued and reciprocated. This ties back to the economic incentives we discussed earlier. A stable, low drama marriage doesn't generate much revenue. No need for separate households, no custody battles feeding legal industries, no post breakup spending sprees on therapy, travel, or makeovers, but a cycle of commitment, dissatisfaction, separation, and restart. That's a perpetual motion machine for profit. Family law practices, real estate for new homes, child support systems, dating services for the newly single, all benefit from turnover. Again, not a coordinated plot, but a natural outcome of systems rewarding instability over endurance. Now consider the impact on children growing up in this environment. They absorb the model dynamics, one parent providing structure and resources, the other expressing needs and emotions as primary. Messages about gender roles become confusing. Boys learn that their future efforts might go unappreciated. Girls learn that demands are power. Without balanced examples, the cycle threatens to repeat, with new generations entering adulthood already skeptical of commitment. Yet, amid these challenges, pockets of hope exist. Couples who consciously reject the dominant scripts and build on principles of equity, clear communication, and mutual respect thrive quietly. They prioritize shared goals over individual gratification, celebrate each other's contributions openly, resolve conflicts with fairness rather than leverage. These relationships often form outside the mainstream dating ecosystem through shared communities, long term friendships evolving naturally, or deliberate choices to seek compatibility and values first. For men reading this, the practical takeaway is clear: protect your future by making informed choices today. Vet thoroughly for signs of reciprocity. Does she show genuine interest in your life, goals, and challenges? Does she express gratitude for efforts, big and small? Does she take initiative in nurturing the connection, or is it mostly reactive? These early indicators predict long term patterns with high accuracy. Financial prudence becomes non negotiable. Maintain separate assets where possible. Understand legal implications in your jurisdiction. Build wealth independently. This isn't paranoia. It's responsible planning in a landscape where outcomes can shift dramatically through no fault of your own. Emotional self sufficiency grows in importance too. Cultivate fulfillment from within. Purposeful work, physical health, strong male friendships, personal hobbies. When your happiness doesn't hinge on a relationship, you enter any potential partnership from strength, not need. This position allows clearer judgment and easier exits if imbalances emerge. Many men who adopt this mindset report profound liberation, no longer auditioning for approval, no longer tolerating one sided dynamics. They experience life with reduced stress and increased agency. Productivity soars, savings accumulate, networks deepen. Some choose permanent independence and find it deeply satisfying. Others eventually connect with women who've also rejected the cultural noise, women who value partnership, demonstrate accountability, and invest equally. This conscious opting out sends ripples through the system. As more men prioritize self respect and peace, the pool of those willing to accept imbalance shrinks. Standards recalibrate not through demands, but through absence of attention, resources, commitment from aware men. Over time, this creates pressure for adaptation, where genuine mutuality becomes the only viable path to partnership. Society benefits when individuals thrive independently first. Strong, self reliant people form stronger unions when they choose to, because the foundation is choice rather than necessity. Codependence gives way to interdependence, two complete lives, enhancing each other, not completing voids. Reflect on historical shifts for perspective. Past generations faced different pressures. Economic hardship often forced commitment, regardless of fit, leading to quiet unhappiness for many. Today's abundance allows choice, which highlights incompatibilities faster. The discomfort we're seeing isn't regression, it's the growing pains of transitioning toward more authentic connections, even if the path feels chaotic now. Men walking away aren't destroying relationships, they're refusing to participate in unsustainable ones. By modeling self respect, they're raising the bar for everyone. Those capable of meeting it will find partners. Those who aren't will face the consequences of their choices. This movement toward personal sovereignty represents progress, even if it's misunderstood in mainstream discourse. Freedom to choose peace over obligation, fulfillment over performance, clarity over confusion. That's empowerment in action. As we continue unpacking this, consider your own boundaries and priorities. What are you no longer willing to tolerate? What qualities would make a partnership truly additive to your life? Defining these clearly guides decisions and filters opportunities effectively. The future belongs to those who build intentionally, lives rich in purpose, relationships rich in reciprocity, futures protected through wisdom and discipline. Let's push this conversation even deeper and examine the psychological and emotional layers that keep so many men trapped in these unbalanced cycles for far longer than they should be. Picture this: a guy in his late 20s or early 30s grinding at his job, hitting the gym consistently, building his finances, and genuinely trying to find a meaningful connection. He meets someone who checks a lot of boxes on paper: attractive, fun initial chemistry, shared interests on the surface. He invests thoughtfully, planning dates, listening attentively, showing up reliably. Early signs of imbalance appear: cancellations without much apology, conversations that circle back to her needs, subtle tests of how much he'll accommodate. But instead of recognizing these as red flags, he doubles down. Why? Because he's been conditioned to believe that real manhood means persistence, that good things come to those who provide more, that if he just tries harder or gives more, things will balance out eventually. This mindset didn't appear out of nowhere. It's the product of decades of cultural storytelling that frames male effort as the key to unlocking female affection and commitment. Movies, music, advice from older generations all reinforce the idea that women respond to investment, that chasing and proving yourself is romantic, that tolerance for inconsistency is strength. Meanwhile, any expression of boundaries or expectation of reciprocity gets labeled as controlling or insecure. So men silence their instincts, override their observations, and keep pouring energy into dynamics that drain rather than replenish them. The emotional toll builds quietly, resentment masked as patience, self doubt disguised as self improvement, exhaustion presented as dedication. Over time, this pattern becomes a loop. Each disappointment gets rationalized. Maybe she had a bad day. Maybe past trauma explains the behavior. Maybe more time will reveal her true self. Friends and family often encourage staying the course, especially if marriage or children are on the table. Society celebrates the provider who sacrifices, rarely highlighting the quiet erosion of his well being. By the time reality hits fully, perhaps years in, perhaps after major life decisions, the exit costs feel astronomical. Emotional bonds, shared history, financial entanglements, or social pressure, fear of starting over, all conspire to keep him stuck. This is where the awakening usually happens, often painfully. A moment of clarity strikes. A particularly dismissive comment, a major boundary crossed without remorse, or simply looking in the mirror and not recognizing the stressed, diminished version of himself staring back. He starts researching quietly, reading forums, watching content like this, talking to other men who've been through similar paths. Patterns emerge that he couldn't see while immersed. The same complaints, the same progression, the same eventual outcome for those who don't change course early. The shift from investment to protection feels revolutionary at first. He begins pulling back energy, observing rather than reacting, prioritizing his own needs without guilt. Boundaries solidify, not as punishment, but as self respect. Time once spent accommodating shifts to personal growth, deeper career focus, stronger fitness routines, richer friendships, new skills and hobbies. The contrast is stark. Where relationships once felt like a constant uphill battle, independence feels like level ground, or even downhill momentum. Many describe this phase as the first time in years they've experienced genuine peace. Sleep improves without the background anxiety of wondering if today's effort will be enough. Finances grow without funding endless dates or lifestyle expectations. Confidence rebuilds authentically, rooted in accomplishments rather than validation. Social circles strengthen as time frees up for male bonds that offer support without drama or scorekeeping. This newfound clarity extends beyond dating into all areas of life. Decision making sharpens without the fog of trying to please someone inconsistent. Risk taking increases because failure no longer carries the weight of disappointing a partner. Creativity flows when mental bandwidth isn't occupied by overanalyzing text or managing emotional volatility. Importantly, this isn't about becoming cold or closed off. Many men report deeper capacity for connection once they operate from abundance rather than scarcity. They engage with women selectively, offering generosity where it's met enthusiastically, withdrawing gracefully where it's not. The difference is that rejection or imbalance no longer devastates. It's simply information confirming incompatibility. Women entering interactions with these men notice the shift immediately. No chasing, no overtexting, no tolerance for games. Respect either flows naturally or the connection ends cleanly. This dynamic forces quicker revelations of true character. Those capable of mutuality step up. Those accustomed to one sided benefit self select out. The filtering process becomes brutally efficient. From a broader perspective, this individual evolution creates collective pressure. As growing numbers of high quality men opt for self prioritization, the dating marketplace experiences supply constriction on the commitment side. Men willing to accept minimal reciprocity become rarer, pushing those seeking partnership to adapt or face prolonged solitude. Cultural narratives start cracking under the weight of reality. When high standards consistently yield loneliness, self reflection becomes inevitable for some. This adaptation shows up in subtle ways already. Some women begin questioning the dominant advice, seeking out counter narratives that emphasize mutual effort and accountability. Others invest in personal growth beyond surface level attractiveness, building emotional maturity, financial independence, genuine kindness. These shifts, though gradual, represent the market correcting itself through individual consequences. For men still early in their journey, the message is preventive. Learn these lessons without needing the painful tuition. Study patterns before investing heavily. Trust actions over words, consistency over intensity. Value peace as a non negotiable rather than a nice to have. Build a life so compelling that any addition must enhance it significantly, not merely fill voids. Practical steps compound quickly. Start with awareness. Track where your time and resources flow in relationships. Notice imbalances without judgment at first. Simply observe, then adjust. Match effort rather than exceed it. Express needs clearly and early. Exit gracefully when patterns emerge. Surround yourself with men who've made similar shifts. Their examples normalize the path and provide support. Financial independence accelerates everything. Every dollar saved rather than spent on unbalanced dynamics becomes future security. Investments grow, emergency funds build, options expand. The power of having choices cannot be overstated. When walking away doesn't mean devastation, boundaries become natural rather than forced. Physical health follows similar logic. Consistent training, nutrition, recovery, these aren't just for attraction, they're for personal vitality. A strong body supports a strong mind, creating resilience against emotional manipulation or stress. Many men find that peak physical condition aligns with peak mental clarity about relationships. Mental frameworks matter immensely. Replace scarcity thinking. I need to find someone with abundance. I choose who enhances my already good life. Reframe generosity as a gift offered freely, not an investment expecting returns. View boundaries as protection of value, not rejection of others. Reading widely helps solidify these perspectives. Books on psychology, economics, history, understanding human incentives and behavior patterns across time demystifies modern dysfunction. Philosophy offers tools for internal peace regardless of external circumstances. Stoicism, in particular, resonates with many walking this path. Focus on what you control, accept what you don't, act with virtue anyway. Community plays a crucial role too. Male spaces, whether online forums, local meetups, sports teams, professional networks, provide reality checks and reinforcement. Hearing similar stories normalizes experiences that mainstream culture might dismiss. Accountability partners keep standards high. Mentorship from older men who've navigated these waters offers priceless wisdom. As this lifestyle solidifies, something interesting often happens. Options reappear naturally. Women who value the traits developed through self focus, stability, confidence, clarity become drawn to them. But by then, the screening process is rigorous. Partnership must offer clear mutual benefit, emotional safety, shared growth. Anything less gets declined without second thoughts. And some men discover that permanent independence suits them perfectly. Freedom to travel spontaneously, pursue ambitious goals without compromise, build wealth aggressively, maintain simple routines. These become deeply satisfying. Society might label this as failure to settle down, but personal metrics tell a different story. High life satisfaction, low stress, strong health, financial security. Others find exceptional partners who align perfectly. Women who've also rejected cultural noise, who bring strength and reciprocity as baseline. These relationships tend to form organically, often outside traditional dating channels. Shared values and life directions create bonds that endure because both parties maintain individual completeness. Either path represents success when chosen consciously. The common thread is agency, deciding your life's shape rather than accepting default scripts, rejecting exploitation while remaining open to genuine connection, protecting peace while building legacy. This movement of men reclaiming their time, energy, and purpose isn't temporary backlash, it's permanent recalibration. As awareness spreads, younger generations enter adulthood better equipped, skeptical of unbalanced narratives, focused on self development first, clear about what healthy dynamics require. Society evolves through these individual choices. When enough people refuse to participate in dysfunction, the system must adapt or lose relevance. We're witnessing that adaptation in real time, slow, uneven, but unmistakable. Your own journey matters in this larger shift. Every decision to prioritize self respect over supplication, peace over performance, clarity over confusion, each one strengthens the collective standard. Let's keep expanding on the real world transformations that happen when men fully embrace this path of self prioritization and conscious choice. Because seeing the long term outcomes is what solidifies the decision for so many. Take the example of a man who spent years cycling through disappointing dynamics, investing heavily, adjusting his standards downward, rationalizing inconsistencies, only to end up exactly where he started, alone, but now with less time, less money, and less trust in the process. When he finally commits to change, the first few months feel uncertain. Old habits die hard. There's the urge to check dating apps, to respond to low effort outreach, to hope that this time might be different. But as he sticks to his new principles, matching effort instead of exceeding it, protecting his schedule fiercely, focusing on goals that excite him, momentum builds in ways he never anticipated. Productivity becomes the first noticeable win. Without the mental drain of overanalyzing interactions or managing emotional ups and downs, focus sharpens dramatically. Work projects advance faster, side hustles gain traction, promotions or business opportunities materialize because energy flows consistently toward creation rather than maintenance of unbalanced connections. Many men report doubling their income within a couple of years simply because distractions vanished and discipline compounded. Savings accounts grow aggressively. No more funding expensive dates with uncertain outcomes. No lifestyle inflation to impress someone who doesn't fully appreciate it. Investments start early and compound longer, building real wealth that provides options and security. Physical transformation often follows close behind. Gym routines become sacred because there's no one demanding spontaneous plans that derail progress. Nutrition stays consistent without the temptation of late night comfort, eating after arguments or rejections. Sleep improves dramatically with reduced stress hormones circulating. The result is a body that reflects the inner discipline, stronger, leaner, more capable. Confidence derived from tangible progress feels different, rooted in reality rather than fleeting validation. This version of self assurance attracts respect across all areas of life: professional negotiations, social interactions, even casual encounters. Social networks deepen and expand in quality. Time once spent on dates or relationships that demanded constant attention now invests in male friendships that offer straightforward support, shared activities, and mutual growth. Group trips, sports leagues, business collaborations, These become regular parts of life. Mentorship flows both ways, learning from men further along the path, guiding those just starting. These bonds provide reality checks, celebration of wins, and accountability without the complications that mixed gender dynamics sometimes bring. Many describe their circle as the strongest it's ever been: reliable, drama free, genuinely invested in each other's success. Personal development accelerates across every dimension. Hobbies neglected for years get revived. Playing instruments, building skills, traveling solo, reading deeply. Creative outlets emerge: writing, photography, entrepreneurship, because mental space exists for exploration. Spiritual or philosophical practices often deepen as well, whether through meditation, nature immersion, or studying wisdom traditions. Life starts feeling rich and layered, full of intrinsic rewards rather than waiting for external sources to provide meaning. Travel becomes a highlight for many. Freedom to book trips on short notice, explore destinations thoroughly without compromise, immerse in cultures deeply. These experiences create memories and perspectives that reshape worldview. Solo travel especially builds unbreakable self reliance. Navigating challenges alone, connecting with locals authentically, reflecting in quiet moments. Returning home feels different too. Appreciation for routine sharpens, gratitude for independence grows. Financial milestones hit faster and feel sweeter. Paying off debt aggressively, building emergency funds, investing consistently, perhaps purchasing property or starting businesses. These become achievable because resources stay directed toward long term vision rather than short term impressions. The power of compound interest works in every area: money, health, knowledge, networks. A decade of focused effort creates a life most people spend lifetimes chasing unsuccessfully. Dating, when it happens at all, transforms completely. Approaches come naturally from women noticing the energy: calm confidence, clear purpose, zero neediness. But screening is ruthless now. Reciprocity must appear early and consistently. Generosity flows freely where appreciated, withdraws immediately where taken for granted. Connections either build mutually or end cleanly without drama. Many men find this phase enjoyable rather than stressful, engaging when it suits them, disengaging without second guessing. Some discover exceptional partners this way: women who've done their own work, who bring strength and balance rather than demands and tests. These relationships form on solid ground: shared values driving the connection, individual completeness as the foundation, mutual respect as the baseline. Growth happens together without losing self. Intimacy feels deeper because trust builds on actions over time. These partnerships endure not out of necessity, but because both choose it daily as an enhancement to already fulfilling lives. Others realize partnership isn't necessary for their happiness at all. Permanent independence becomes the preference: freedom, simplicity, control over every aspect of life. They build legacies through work, philanthropy, mentoring, creative pursuits. Society might view this as incomplete, but personal experience says otherwise. Profound contentment, zero regrets, complete sovereignty. Younger men watching this unfold get the message early. They enter adulthood focused on building foundations first: education, career, health, finances, knowing that rushing into relationships often derails progress. They learn discernment young, avoiding the painful lessons their predecessors paid dearly for. This generational shift promises broader change: higher standards across the board, healthier dynamics when connections form, stronger individuals contributing to society. Cultural narratives struggle to keep pace with this reality. Mainstream advice still pushes old scripts: chase harder, provide more, tolerate inconsistency, but results speak louder. When men living the independent path display visible success, health, wealth, peace, purpose, the contrast becomes undeniable. Questions arise. Why settle for stress when peace is achievable? Why invest where return is minimal when self investment compounds exponentially? This movement isn't about isolation, it's about elevation, elevated standards, elevated outcomes, elevated lives. Men walking away from dysfunction walk towards something better, their own vision, built brick by brick through daily choices. The path requires discipline initially, but rewards flow abundantly once momentum establishes. Every man reading this has the same opportunity. Start where you are. Audit your current allocations of time, energy, resources, redirect toward what builds you unquestionably. Set boundaries without apology. Pursue excellence relentlessly. Watch as life expands in ways previously unimaginable. The future you're building isn't dependent on finding the right person, it's dependent on becoming the right man for your own life first. Everything else either aligns naturally or becomes irrelevant. This understanding frees you completely. No more waiting for circumstances to improve, no more hoping behavior changes, no more compromising core needs. Agency rests fully in your hands. Choose growth, choose peace, choose yourself unapologetically. As we bring this full exploration to a close, take a moment to consider how far the perspective has shifted from frustration with observable patterns to empowerment through systemic understanding and practical action. The entitlement and imbalances discussed aren't random or inevitable. They're products of incentives that individuals can opt out of through conscious choice. By prioritizing self respect, building independently, and engaging only where mutuality exists, men reclaim control and create lives of genuine fulfillment. What did you think about what was discussed throughout this entire breakdown? Did any part challenge your views, reinforce your experiences, or give you new tools for moving forward? Do you agree that understanding the bigger incentives changes everything? And are you already applying some of these principles? Leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. I read them all and love hearing how this lands with you. Like the video if you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you liked the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away, and cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.